We finally made it. Free agency starts tomorrow, New York Jet fans. Well, unofficially. The legal tampering period kicks off at noon, which means free agents to be and teams can start communicating. And the Jets are going to be making some calls. But there are 5 calls they should not make. I'm going to explain the players the Jets should absolutely avoid in free agency. Let's roll.
Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is on the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Hey, what's poppin', everybody? Paul Esden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. We're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcast by simply searching for Boy Green Daily right there on the channel. As soon as you walk into the room on YouTube, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up button and smack subscribe as soon as you walk in. It's time to talk about the top 5 players the Jets should avoid in free agency. For as many hits as the Jets have had in free agency, guys like DJ Reed stand out. Tyler Conklin, some nice values. There's been a lot of busts, most recently, Alan Lazard. We've had Tremaine Johnson's. I mean, unfortunately, Laken Tomlinson was on that list. The Jets have had a lot of these scenarios where it's a swing and a miss and not making contact for one reason or another, whatever that could have been. But now we want to help the Jets avoid some of those pitfalls. And that's what we're hopefully going to do on the show today. So I've come up with a top 5 list. It's in front of me here. The top 5 list of players the Jets should avoid for one reason or another. I got a couple of different positions here. We'll start off at number 5. It's obvious. Jamal Adams, the Seattle Seahawks safety that has been released to the open market. He has done some flirtations on social media that he'd be interested in a Jets reunion, coming back home to the New York Jets. And I'll be honest, middle last season when I kind of sensed that this was the destination for Adams, I kind of sensed him like, oh, you know what? Maybe Jamal reunion. I get some use out of the jersey I still have in my closet. Like, Jets safety position, volatility. They're going to have a couple of safeties hit the open market. Maybe that could make sense. But the more I've pontificated on it, plus Connor Hughes' report that the Jets have, quote unquote, zero interest in a reunion. Well, that just about shut the door, didn't it? So the Jets, they're going to need some sort of safety action, whether they run it back with some of the crew that's hitting the open market or dive in the top end, Jordan Poyers, Justin Simmons, Micah Hyde, one of those kind of guys. So it's possible they could go back into the top end of the market or anywhere, quite frankly. One place they would not go is Jamal. Again, it would have made sense on an in theory basis. I'd be kind of curious how, this Jets defensive coaching staff, would have been able to maximize Jamal Adams because this defensive staff has been really good at getting the most talent out of their group. Jeff Ulbrich, Robert Saleh. Think about Bryce Huffs. Think about Quincy Williams. Think about Jordan Whitehead, who became this ball hawk of sorts with the Jets, getting a lot of interceptions. That to me has been really intriguing, but it will not happen with Jamal Adams. So the Jets should avoid him. They will avoid him. So that reunion, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, is not going to happen. So it could be another one I forgot to mention. What about the other safety there from Seattle that hit the open market? Quandre Diggs. Maybe he could be more so as an option for the Jets. So let me check that one off. Boop, boop. We went Jamal Adams. All right, here's another one on the list. Let's go offensive line. I'm going to try to vary the position so we dive into some different markets. Jonah Williams kind of scares me I'm going to be honest. The Cincinnati Bengals offensive tackle. So if you guys don't remember the story, of course, initially he was a first-round pick, an Alabama guy. The Bengals think they got this guy. He gets hurt during his rookie year, doesn't really play. And then there's this herky-jerky nature this past season where they're like, hey, you're not playing left tackle. You're going to be playing right tackle. And he didn't want to play right tackle. He demands a trade, and then there was a lot of hoopla. Ends up ultimately playing there. But if he was complaining about the offensive tackle swap-a-rooney, not that I want any player to move around all over the place, but, Jonah Williams' PFF grades have been terrible. He has not performed very well on a whole career-wise. So while I probably shouldn't be advocating for the Jets to be avoiding any offensive linemen because we need as many as we can get, it's not beggars can't be choosers. The Jets have to be very selective after the Lake and Tomlinson thing that just happened with making sure you hit your spots in free agency. And when I look at the big board here, I think offensive linemen are going to be overpaid. I think they're going to be overpaid in a big way. And here's why. So Jonah Williams projections. This is from Spot Track. This is Brad Spielberger. Jonah Williams, the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line, is projected to get 4 years, $15 million per. That would be $60 million contract with $37.5 million guaranteed. I'm just not willing to dance in those waters, I'm afraid. I'm just not willing to do it. So that's too expensive for me. The injury history, the little bit of the attitude on left tackle, right tackle, I don't know, man. Gives me the heebie-jeebies. So, Jonah Williams, you're off the list. Or on the list, depending on how you prefer. But not calling Jonah Williams. Sorry, pal. You have joined the list. Not good enough. Let's go here. Let's go Tyrod Taylor, New York Giants quarterback. So the Jets need a backup. And there's a lot of names. Again, we've thrown a lot of them out there. Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, all the guys have gotten some sort of love about potentially being the backup quarterback for the New York Jets. But one that I'm, and it would help him, Tyrod, being with the Jets because he could stay at the same locale, going Giants, Jets, probably stay at the same house, just drive a little bit different to get to work. Tyrod Taylor, this is a guy that every time that the Jets have played him, whether it's preseason Michael Clemens hit, up he's hurt, or this game this year where we got introduced to Tommy Cutlets, gets hurt on the sideline, it just seems like he's made of glass. It just seems like he gets hurt all the friggin' time, specifically against the Jets. And I'm not even really going out of my way to look at other options here. I'm just saying specifically against the Jets, he's been hurt a lot. So if he's been hurt a lot against the Jets, who else has he been hurt a lot? You know what I'm saying? So Tyrod, the Jets need a backup. There's no question. But Tyrod, it's going to be a $4.5 million average. That's not crazy if you look at that. That's his projected market, $4.5 million. The high end of the market is $8-9 million per year. Well, it was $8 million per year this past year, but it's expected to rise. So 4.5, you get a deal, but often you get what you pay for. That's not always the case. Obviously, the Jets have paid top-end market contracts before, and they haven't gotten what they've paid for. But you kind of get what you pay for in the sense that if you're paying that much below market value, you're getting that much below market value at quarterback. So he doesn't really do it for me. So, Tyrod, sorry, pal. You're off the list. You're off the list. Again, these are my top 5 players the Jets should be avoiding in free agency. I'd go. I just think let me put it this way. Tyrod's probably a fine guy. Never met him, but there's better options out there for the Jets. Have your expectation, have your standards a little higher. That's all I'm saying. Number 2, I'm just going to put an entire positional group here. Tight end, off the list. I'm just not taking a tight end in free agency. Again, is there a compelling case at one point if the right this or the right this happens in the draft for Brock Bowers? I go back and forth, to be honest with you. At first, I'm like, tight end, absolutely none. And then you watch a little bit, you're like, oh. And they're like, no. Yeah, no. Well, maybe. That's been me on Brock Bowers this entire time because I've tweeted out a couple of clips. Benjamin Solak, major fan of Brock Bowers. He said of Brock Bowers that, like, boy, the comparisons to George Kittle are not even doing him justice because of how good he is. I'm like, wow, okay, zooey mama. You have Matt Miller said, I can't justify using a top 10 pick on a tight end. Hell no. So, like, I'm going back and forth with all the analysts out there. Some are pro Bowers, some are not pro Bowers. I would just say this. No tight end. I think the room's fine, to be honest with you. I think it is. We've been going through this offseason. I'm like, oh boy, you lose Uzomah, you got to get somebody in there. But do you? You have Tyler Conklin. Okay, he's tight end 1. He's coming off a career year, and there's more meat on the bone, obviously. The quarterback play was terrible last year. Get Aaron Rodgers. He could be a very solid number 1. Jeremy Ruckert. Now, I'm going to be honest. I get it. We all want Ruckert to be the thing. I haven't seen it yet. It's been flashes, but why don't we give the kid a chance? Why not? So, but I would say that, yeah, Carlos Knight asked on YouTube. So if we got Bowers, would Rucker move to fullback? I would advocate Rucker to move to fullback, quite frankly. Some of his blocking has been spectacular, and I think you could get it on a more consistent basis. Move him to like fullback, H-back. Don't even limit him. And then he could do some of the pass-catching concepts that he didn't really get to do at Ohio State. I'm fine with that. So maybe that's possible if they go Bowers. But specifically, I just want to avoid the tight end. I heard some people say, oh, maybe they could go Hunter Henry or this or that. And then Hunter Henry got picked up anyway, or re-signed by the Patriots, but $30 million. Like, that's the market. No, thank you. I'm fine with the tight ends we have. Again, tight end number 1, you got Tyler Conklin. Tight end number 2, Jeremy Ruckert. Maybe at some point he overtakes Conklin in the middle of the season. I don't know. Again, people have different expectations on Ruckert as a whole. Then you have kind of the rest of the room rounded out with a Kenny Yeboah, who the team is friggin' in love with as a special teams guy and just a do-it-all guy. They love him. And then you have Zach Kuntz. So that's your dart throw. So I think the room's fine. Again, depending on free agency, maybe there is a path for a Brock Bowers in the draft, but I'm just not willing to dip my toe in the veteran tight end free agent waters. I think it's wasted money. You can go to a different area, I believe, to fill the tight end void, if you even believe that there is one. I think there's a compelling case that the Jets had no tight end. I'd be like, all right, because offensive line, absolutely, they need guys in depth. Go to wide receivers. You need a couple of those. I think you do need a running back. I think you do need another veteran running back. It's not at the top of my wish list. I think you could get it second, third, fourth, fifth tier of free agency. There have been guys that have signed for dirt cheap. You need safeties. You need interior defensive linemen. You need backup quarterback. You need a lot of things before I'm like, you know what? Maybe tight end. So that's what I'm saying. So the entire position, just a genocide of the position. Sorry. No, thank you. Off the list. But number one free agent I want the Jets to avoid is this player I'm about to say. I want nothing to do with this player. This player I'm about to mention is going to be overpaid, and even if he wasn't overpaid, I don't think I'd want him either. Gabe Davis, Buffalo Bills wide receiver. I want absolutely nothing to do with Gabe Davis of the Buffalo Bills. His projections on Spot Track, $13.6 million per year average. He's expected to sign a 4-year deal for $54 million. That's more than Alan Lazard, obviously, who signed 4-year $40. I just don't like Gabe Davis. I've seen a lot of Gabe Davis in my world because I do sports talk radio here in New York. We cover the Buffalo Bills as one of many teams. We cover the Jets too, but we cover the Buffalo Bills. I bring on Bills insiders every week. I watch Bills games because the Jets play the Bills, or when the Jets are not playing, Bills are local here in New York. I see the Bills all the time. You want to know who I don't see all the time? Gabe Davis. He just goes invisible. He disappears. Everyone overreacts to that 4-touchdown playoff game and says he's the second coming of this or the second coming of that. It was just a random blip on the radar. He can have big plays, and you can see it in his statistics where there's these massive, 80-yard touchdown plays and things of that nature. But when you put a fine-tooth comb really through his career, there's a lot of inconsistencies. I see him drop regular passes all the time. Incredibly frustrating from that perspective. Think about this, even beyond everything I just said. The Buffalo Bills, one of their top needs this offseason is wide receiver 2, and they are showing no effort to re-sign Gabe Davis. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? He spent his entire rookie contract with the Bills, and they know him better than anybody, and they're showing no interest in re-signing him. Why do you think that is? Because they have the same take, apparently, that I do. No, thank you. No, thank you on Gabe Davis. In theory, he makes sense. The size makes sense. Taking him from a division rival, that makes sense. But if I'm the Bills, I'm like holding in my laughter until the Jets unload some massive money on Gabe Davis. And they're like, good luck with him. I don't want to be the butt end of that AFC East joke. No, thank you. He's just not good. He's just not good. Not consistent. He's going to be overpaid. I am just not about Gabe Davis. He is number one free agent I want to avoid. And again, so Spot Track projects, this massive market for Gabe Davis. Brad Spielberger, the PFF numbers I just talked about, he thinks that Gabe will take a 1-year prove-it deal, like a 1-year deal for $12 million fully guaranteed. So in that sense, it's a shorter end deal, but all the money. First off, I don't know why Gabe would take that, because the wide receiver market in general is depreciated because of all the people that left. It's very scarce, right? So Mike Evans gone, T. Higgins gone, Michael Pittman Jr. gone. So Gabe Davis, by virtue, is going to rise up the board. NFL teams, their salary cap jumped to over $250,000. It's $255 million. Literally, these NFL teams have money to burn, and that's bad for us, and it's bad. Well, good for Gabe Davis and his agent, I guess. But teams have money to burn, and a lot of the wide receivers that are supposed to be out there aren't out there. So that money could get in this crazy thing with Gabe Davis. And I just want no part of it. He's not consistent. He disappears. That's not what the Jets need. The Bills are literally looking for the same thing the Jets are, a compliment to Stephon Diggs. In our case, a compliment to Garrett Wilson, and they're showing no efforts to re-sign this guy. That's a red flag. And I had red flags before that, but that's just another red flag. Why would we think? How arrogant would that be? Okay. The Jets like, we need a wide receiver too. Ooh, Gabe Davis. And the Bills like, yeah, you can have him. It's like when the Jets hired Adam Gase from the Dolphins. That's an arrogant thing to do. The Miami Dolphins look at the guy, go, oh, we got to fire this guy. He sucks. And the Jets go, or does he? Oh, yeah, he does. But, or does he? And they hire him. That's the same thing with Gabe Davis. No friggin' thank you. So that's the top 5, everybody. Again, I'll recap it for those who are just joining us. Here are the top 5 free agents I want the New York Jets to avoid, in my opinion. Let's go. Number 5, Jamal Adams. There's been some chatter. Jamal apparently wants to come back. No, thank you. They need help at safety, but I'd go in other directions. Plus, remember how it all ended, where he fired his way out of town. The Jets got this massive trade, obviously. Thank you, Seattle Seahawks, for Garrett Wilson, Elijah Tucker. That's great. But this locker room is precious. This culture is precious. Some Jet fans think they have a good culture. Some people think they have a bad culture. I think wins cures all ails. If you're winning, no one's talking about your culture. But Jamal Adams at the end, it seemed like there was some toxic nature going on there. Don't bring that kind of player in your locker room where it could all blow up very quickly. Don't love that. Jamal Adams, number 5 of the list. Number 4, Jonah Williams. No, thank you. He's going to be overpaid. He's not very good. I just would rather invest my financial resources on the offensive line at some other positions personally. Tyrod Taylor, again, a guy that gets hurt all the time. He's not at the top end of the quarterback market. There's going to be other names that end up going there. I would just prefer to avoid Tyrod Taylor, an older guy. Nothing really wrong with the age, but it's the durability concerns for me that go there. Number 2, the just veteran tight end market. I just want no part of the veteran tight end market. No, thank you. I'm cool with the Jets running it back as is, which again is Conklin, Ruckert, Kenny Yeboah, and Zach Kuntz, or maybe the potential splash of Brock Bowers. But that's it. So keep the unit as is, or maybe you can convince me about the Brock Bowers thing. And then number 1, Gabe Davis. Just want no part of that guy. So who do I miss, guys? Who are some other free agents you want the Jets to avoid? Who are some guys? The legal tampering period starts tomorrow. Who are some guys you don't want the Jets to call? When legal tampering opens, they can start calling players. Who do you want them to avoid? Let us know live in the comments section. We'll react to some of those. I'll go through some of the comments. Who should the Jets absolutely avoid? All right, let's see. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Got a great group in here this morning. John Sauer, part of our Boyer Green Superfan Club. Appreciate that. Dakota says Breece Hall, Brock Bowers, and Garrett Wilson would be a legitimate solid 3. It very well could be. Again, I go back and forth. Dakota says any OT at 10 or Brock Bowers 10. I don't know if I'm cool with any OT because some of them kind of scare me, but there you go. John Sauer says only OT. Even if we sign a free agent OT, 10 has to be OT. I hate when we get in those situations where they have to be anything, but it depends. If they sign Tyron Smith, I don't think it has to be because you could have Tyron at left and AVT at right, and then we could see. But again, if a Joe Alt was on the board, stock the room, I suppose, because injuries can happen, or maybe you could put AVT at guard. So there's some conversation to be had. But we got to see free agency. This week is going to set the tone, that's for sure. Matthias, is Joe Douglas sleeping on the GM chair? I'm sure this is in reference to the Jerry Jeudy trade that happened, unless another one happened overnight and I missed it before coming over here, because I roll out of bed, I do some notes, and then I jump right into the chair to do the show. So I may have missed another trade. But on Jerry Jeudy, again, I'm being blunt. If the Jets would have acquired him, you look into the numbers and then like you do a reaction video and stuff, but I'm kind of glad they didn't, to be honest with you. Jerry Jeudy was not high on my wish list of guys that I wanted to bring in. So I'm kind of cool that they didn't. But the thing that I like about it is that Jeremy Fowler reported the Jets were in on it. Now, they're in on a guy I didn't want. So that's kind of like, whatever. But that means they're in on the veteran wide receiver trade markets. They're looking at free agency. You're kind of going the same as me with Gabe Davis. Is there anything else? And they're looking at trades. So there's another video on the channel. Hopefully you guys can check it out. My top 5 wide receivers the Jets could trade for this offseason. You guys can check that out in the video section. There's a couple of sexy names that I included on that list. But hopefully they call one of those names for a trade. That'd be great. All right, let's go to Dakota here. Excuse me. Signed either Quandre Diggs, Mike Hyde, or Jordan Poyer. I'd like all of them. Hyde apparently is considering retirement from Buffalo Bills people I've talked to. Quandre Diggs would be interesting. And Jordan Poyer, I still think has gas left in the tank. So if he doesn't go to Miami, where he and his beautiful wife might want to go, that would be nice. Dakota J, that would be a nice combination at wide receiver. Cortland Sutton and Tyler Boyd. Sign me up. That would be great. Garrett Wilson, Cortland Sutton, Tyler Boyd, and then you have the rest of the room. That's not bad. That's not bad, Dakota J. That's good combo. Tyler Boyd is his projection is $8.25 million per year, so solid. And then Cortland Sutton's on $14 million and $13 million in cash the next 2 years, and you're probably giving up a fifth, fourth. Boom, wide receiver looks pretty good, I'd say. John Sauer argues you should spend money on the O-line, wide receiver, and backup quarterback. Those are the areas, I would say. Dakota J says, Brissett or Minshew for QB2. Either or I'd be satisfied with. I was wrong on Minshew last offseason. I was kind of like, what's all the hype? I don't really get it. And Minshew proved me wrong. He told me to shut up. Boy Green Live, Vern. Way to make it, brother. Live every single day at 7:30. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays we're live additionally at 3 o'clock. Tuesdays, Thursdays. Yes to no on Gabe Davis from Carlos and I on YouTube. I'm glad you jumped on the train, pal. Okay. Jennifer on YouTube. There's an APB out for Gabe Davis in that last playoff game. And beyond that, quite frankly, he just disappears a lot. Vern says he's home run or nothing. Yeah. Again, I want a receiver that, of course, can take the top off of defense and make big plays, but I also want a receiver that can just catch the routine market, the routine passes. Like dropping those, you're like, oh boy, especially for that price, $54 million. Oof, yikes. Big Daddy says the worst free agent at any price is Jonah Williams. Yeah, because here's the thing, Big Daddy. On top of money and other things that obviously are factors, if you take a guy like Jonah Williams in your head, you could be like, okay, nice. We solved off offensive tackle or we have a great guy at offensive tackle. And that, in theory, would lower that need, right? Which would be dangerous because I don't like Jonah Williams. So if you get him in, the Jets are like, oh, nice, Jonah Williams. So then that drops the need unnecessarily. That's why you want them to get a better guy. So it's like a sneaky way to look at free agency. Once you start putting players off the board, that changes their perception. I don't like that. Paul Aston Sr., my father, Jets set market for Gabe Davis with Lazard contract. Blech. Gross. Isn't, I think Buffalo Jet fan has said this, Gabe Davis is just a faster Lazard. I don't hate that. Let's see. Lazard better with AR back. Well, he can't be worse, John Sauer. He can't be worse. So I think there will be an inevitable increase with Lazard, but you can't count on him after last year. It was a disaster. He was a healthy scratch for multiple games. So he, in my projections, is going to be wide receiver 4. You're going to have Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 1. You need to go get a wide receiver 2 and a wide receiver 3. So Lazard is 4, and maybe he surprises you. What a $44 million backup. That sucks. He's definitely getting cut after 2024, but he will be better inevitably with Rodgers. Absolutely, I agree. Matthias says Odell Beckham. I'd love him as wide receiver 3, to be honest. Go get me a legitimate wide receiver 2. I think OBJ at wide receiver 3 ain't bad. He played a lot better than the statistics said last year, and you won't have to pay that much. So, Carlos Knight, avoid Calvin Ridley. We could get multiple positions of need for the same price. Carlos, I'm going to be honest. I came dangerously close to putting that on the list. That is a sneaky good call. He's the best wide receiver on the free agent market. He's going to get overpaid. Again, teams have money to burn with this increase in cap, surprisingly. I think you're right. I'd like Calvin Ridley in a perfect world at a reasonable price, but the price ain't going to be reasonable, and rarely is it ever in free agency anyway. I think you're right. I'd rather invest those free agent dollars in the top of the offensive line market, like a Robert Hunt or something, who's going to cost less per year than Calvin Ridley. That's the truth. So who would you rather have? A all-pro guard. I say all-pro a little too loosely there, but like, who would you rather have? Investment resources in front of Aaron Rodgers or Calvin Ridley? You're like, I think we could get somebody else. Let's see. Judy sucks. John Sauer says, Gabe Davis. Seriously, I agree totally with the Gase analogy from Phil. Thank you, Phil. Yeah, that one came off the top of the dome, baby. Yeah, it just hits sometimes. It just hits. Carlos said, remember last year when we said the Jets must draft O-line? That's also it. We can't put anything in a box. Let's go to Phil here. I'd like to pick up a guard and an OT plus wide receiver possible for Sutton, then draft. We have flexibility, BP, and offense. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think the reset. I think 10th has to be offense no matter what, under any scenario. But I'd like the flexibility to pick whoever that is. Is it a sexy wide receiver? Is it Rome Odunze? Is it Malik Neighbors? It won't be Marvin Harrison Jr., but like if he falls somehow, crazy things happen during the draft, one of those wide receivers, one of the big offensive linemen, Brock Bowers, whoever, I don't know. But I want that flexibility, though, to your point. Mitch, Jets shocked the world to pick McCarthy. Well, Rich Eisen would like that as a Michigan fan. Wow, that would be zoinks. It's funny, I asked Trevor Sikkema, he joined us on our Boy Green Daily a couple days ago, and I said, what would be the pick that surprises you? Like, because again, last year, Will McDonald, we were like, excuse me, what was the pick? So, like, what would get us to make that same reaction? He said, Brock Bowers wouldn't, because, like, people are talking about it now. And he said, okay, you want a surprise, like a pick that makes your jaw drop. He said, the Jets going defense at 10. Now, again, he's not predicting they go defense. He was just answering the question, what would shock Jet fans? And he's kind of right, because think about this. In a lot of the recent mock drafts, there's not a defensive player going in the top 10. So in theory, as I mentioned to Trevor live on the show, the Jets would have the number 1 overall pick in the defensive draft, which might be tantalizing to the Jets, which scares the crap out of me. So that one's a little scary, to be honest, to them to say, oh, we could pick the best defensive player of anybody. I'm like, oh, let's stay on offense. But McCarthy would be another shocker. That would be crazy. In a perfect world, between me, you, and the 4 walls, this won't happen. Like McCarthy, I think Trevor Sikkema said he would be totally shocked if McCarthy doesn't go top 10. So it sounds like all of this is unrealistic. But if McCarthy or Penix slips outside the first round, like somewhere in that second round, the Jets could go, oh, we could trade up for a quarterback in the future and let them develop. I'd be kind of intrigued at the price for that. But 10, that would be. You would have to, if you're the Jets, you would have to do so much in free agency and trade to make me feel good about that pick. You'd have to do a lot. It's not impossible to be in such a position where you believe you can do that. But boy, you have a lot of work to do to be in that range, I think. For sure. Ricky New York is in here. Very nice. Ooh, another good one from Big Daddy. Stay away from Trent Brown. He's too He's too old, too fat, and past his prime. He's a really talented player, but it's very Mekhi Becton-ish. He's a massive dude. The Patriots in his most recent contract included weight clauses that he had to meet, and if he weighed a certain amount, he got bonus money. Like to have to motivate a player like that is concerning. That's concerning. When he's on, he's on. And it only seems like it's happening with New England because he went out to the Raiders on a big money deal and it was a disaster. That part scares me. Another guy who probably will be overpaid. That's a good call out. Jerby, no Hollywood Brown for me. Yeah. So there's the obvious connection to Sean Jefferson. They crossed over with Arizona for a year, but he's probably going to be overpaid too. And like his numbers are gross. He's only had over 1,000 yards once. He's coming off like his worst receiving yard campaign of his entire career. Unless it's wow, that just happened. That entire thing just collapsed. Did you guys hear that? Whoa. Well, that could have been dangerous. Thank God I wasn't over there when that part of the house just collapsed. Excellent. Anywho, let's just move on here. We will adapt. What the show needs is more Paulson Sr. We get that once a week. I think that's enough. Okay, wow, that was loud. Okay, let me try to recover here. Sign on Wenu, that's a good one. Ricky in New York, we're going to like my receivers like I like my women, able to take the top off at any time. That's funny. That is funny. R&R. Oh, you enjoyed my spun on the Jake Asman show. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was crazy. That was I lost my crap. Wow. What a crazy show that was. Matthias, were you looking at OBJ? I don't know officially. I can't confirm that, but they looked at him hard last year. I've heard it's unlikely he returns to Baltimore. The Jets and Baltimore were the two teams in it at the end. Jets still need a wide receiver. I think you could very easily find your way over there. Let's see. Okay. NY Jets FL says, we're not getting tier 1 free agents. We need to think tier 2 first. Although I think Zach Rosenblatt put it very well that my brain's not working. That we sign one or two splashes every Joe Douglas year. Think about it. Corey Davis, $37.5 million. That was the first wave. Carl Lawson, $45 million. That was the first wave. Laken Tomlinson, $40 million. That was the first wave. So they've actually made splashes, but they've had some success in some of those other tiers. For sure. NY Jets FL. When I saw Joey Bosa and Mack on the trade block, I was a little surprised. I wasn't. They're in a cap purgatory where they got to make big boy decisions on some of those top players. Bosa, Mack, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and there's a few others, Derwin James, and a few others that I'm not thinking of. But I think if we all put on our ski masks and go over to LA and say, give me all your veterans. They're like, oh, geez, okay, take what you want. I think we could get one over on the Chargers. That's why I'm thinking Keenan Allen, right? We kind of bum rush him and ransack the place. Yeah, let's grab Keenan Allen. Go, 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 go. You know, and just ransack him. That could be interesting. Okay, R&R scenario here. If we get a left tackle and a guard in free agency plus a receiver, who are we choosing at 10? So, okay, left tackle. Let's just put the pieces together. So you get left tackle. We get one guard. So left tackle. Okay, we're missing left guard right now. We're missing right guard. We have Joe Tippmann. Let's plug in that guard just at left guard for easiness. So like left tackle, left guard, Joe Tippmann, Hole, and ABT plays one of them. Well, I would probably say probably a right tackle then, maybe like a Fuaga, because then you'd go left tackle we got in free agency, guard we got in free agency, Joe Tippmann, AVT, right tackle. Is that Fuaga? Is that Tyler Guyton? Is that Mims? Is that I'm missing somebody else from that group? Like, is that the play? And then you have receiver that you already got. So that would probably be a lean. Or You kick AVT to right tackle. You find another guard, cheap. Is it Wes Schweitzer maybe? And then you get like a Roma Dunze or Malik Neighbors. So yeah, it's probably depending on what else I'm doing in fantasy, because they're not just going to sign 3 guys. But in this projected scenario, you're either going right tackle or one of those sexy receivers. I think R&R. But good comment on YouTube. RB Gamer, coming right off that, says, I'm going to lose my mind if the Jets draft wide receiver 10 unless they solve offensive line and free agency. Yeah, I mean, offensive line is the key. So we need to see what they do there. I think there will be an aggressive approach with some splash, but also some depth. That's the key. But we'll find out as soon as tomorrow to see where they're sniffing. But receiver would be fun. They've had some success with drafting receivers at 10th overall. Looks at camera. Wink. Garrett Wilson, not too shabby. All right. NY Jets FL. Exactly what I'm talking about. Penix is the top quarterback on my board. He throws the ball so well. He could sit behind Aaron Rodgers. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. If he slips to the second round, he might just be a first round pick and the conversation's over, but it could be. Good Lord. I'm going to have to, that crash, I'm now getting to the most recent comments. I'm going to have to check out how that came over the microphone, but like an entire thing just like collapsed to the ground. That thing was massive. And you saw it leaning like it was like, and I'm just like, oh boy, that's happening. And then just immediate crash. That'll have to be a replay for those who missed it or are joining us live. Like an entire part of my house just collapsed. Like it was this big, like a dresser looking thing and just started going, oh boy. It's like, you're in a boxing match. You go, doosh, 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 and you get the shot. And they're like, oh, I'm a little woozy. And then on Rumble, let's get ready to rumble. Boxing, you know what I'm talking about? And then a little pow, pow, pow. And then, boom, and then the body just collapsed. I saw it happen in slow motion, but I couldn't stop it. There's no way I could have run over there in time. Like, no, wait, stop. Like, it was happening no matter what. So that seemed loud. But we'll have to hit the ESPN replay on that one later. It must have been those meddling teenagers. Those damn teenagers, get off my lawn. Probably. The house is falling down. But we're continuing to do the show. Look at that. Look at that kind of dedication that my house just collapsed. And I didn't run over there. I'm like, you know what? We're in the middle of a show, baby. We will continue. All right, let me go through a couple more here. Yeah, Keenan Allen would be a fun one for me. Michael Gallup. So last night, apparently he's been allowed to seek a trade. Now, if you look at the contract, it's pretty manageable. He's still under contract for a couple more years. He's stupid talented. Like he and my father will say the same if he joined the show. But like he makes crazy one-handed catches. He's had some routine drops, which like kind of like just frustrates you. It's like annoying. Like, ugh. And then you see him make a crazy catch. You're like, what? There's the injuries obviously after the ACL, so like you could probably get him next to nothing. I imagine the Cowboys just probably want to get rid of the money, so probably a 6th or 7th, maybe my dad will say differently here in the chat, but probably a 6th or 7th will get Gallup. I'm kind of meh about it, to be honest. I'm mid. Like I've seen the talent, but I probably have other options. Like if I'm like evaluating girlfriends, I'm single. And Gallup calls me and says, hey, can you hit me back up? I'm like, yeah. Don't call me, I'll call you, sort of thing. Yeah, that's just the honest truth. But we'll see. I think he could be had for dirt cheap. There'd be another one, Mitch Staff, that they could trade back up into the second round. That could be. They have the capital. They have the capital to get back in the second round if they want to. I wonder who would be the guy. Would it be an offensive lineman? Could it be a wide receiver? Could it be someone on defense? Could it be a quarterback? There's a lot of options. Williams next to Sweat. That could be fun. Ricky in New York. Borgren, I missed the DT show. And the name we need to be talking about is Derek Nottie from KC. Yes. I mentioned a lot of DTs I like. Fletcher Cox, Calais Campbell. I'm going to forget one of the names. Fletcher Cox, Calais Campbell. I had one other name. Foley Fatukasi, who's been visiting the Bills. That one kind of scares me. Don't go to the Bills. Scares is a little hard. He's a run stuffer, but I really like the guy. I apparently had no reaction. I'll have to rewatch it after. That'll be funny. The things that happen. It was Dakota's fault. Ghost, perhaps. Okay, I like all the explanations here. That is a good question. Everyone hears that on the mic. Everything that happens in my life, they're like, what the? Yeah, it's actually, I live in a one-room apartment. And it's the kitchen, bathroom, and everything is all in this room. It's just slightly off camera. That's a good question, though. It's a good question. That's exactly what happened there. Carlos says trade the 4th for Sam. That's a little rich for me on Sam. I'd go a little bit lower. I like that. I like the 6th. One of the 6th for Sutton. Sure. 4th for Sam. A little high. A little rich. A little rich. For cheap, like a 7th round pick, maybe. All right. But 4th, 3rd, whatever. Nah. We ain't doing that. Yeah, that's the show, everybody. Well, I need to go check in on my house. So, about to go do that. But appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys like the video. Hit subscribe down below. I'll tell you what it is right now. Here's a tease. Here's a tease for tomorrow. Okay? So the draft order is finalized for the New York Jets. On the show tomorrow, Boy Green Daily. Monday, Mock Draft Monday, is Dom C. We will do a pre-free agency 7-round mock draft with all of the official Jets draft selections. That's hitting us tomorrow live at 7:30 with Dom C. Hope you guys can check that out. It's going to be phenomenal. So Dom C, a pre-free agency 7-round mock draft live on the show with your interactions and everything that's going to be happening with the official picks that the Jets have in the 2024 NFL draft. And as soon as free agency happens, things will change. Things will change. NY Jets FL asks, when can we tamper? Noon tomorrow, right after my radio show. Boop, the window opens for 2 days and change. So there you go, everybody. Hopefully we check you guys out tomorrow for that mock draft. Should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. That'll be tomorrow morning at 7:30 with the wonderful Dom C. Thanks for joining us. I got to go figure out my house situation. God bless everybody. Take care.